Hey guys, it's Amanda here. Sorry, this is a little bit of an impromptu Facebook Live. I initially was going to have it later tonight, but I had a scheduling snafu. Thank you, Mercury retrograde. So I am doing it a bit earlier. So no big deal for those of you who can tune in later. Awesome. If anyone can tune in now, fantastic. This one is going to be a little bit more about the Panchakarma and just kind of tuning in with you guys. What are your questions about Ayurveda? What don't you get? What is it? Maybe it's completely new to you. I've kind of touched a good amount on Kapha dosha. I've talked to you a little bit about what Ayurveda is, what it means, the science of life, and that's basically it's a way to tune in to our inner nature and our outer nature and how to live in harmony with those natures. So as I continue to talk, whether you're watching this now or later, please feel free to pick my brain, to post questions, to tell me, I don't know, any specific inquiries that you have or curiosities you have, or maybe what you've heard about Ayurveda before, or again, maybe you're completely new to it. If you want to hear about my story around Ayurveda and how it's touched my life, go to my website, jupiterslabyrinth.com, and I have my entire story there. So Ayurveda was really the sort of springboard into the world of alternative wellness and even herbalism. Panchakarma was the first cleanse that I did when I was unwell, and it changed my life. It was really profound. It was the elongated, so I mentioned last time I have track 1 and a track 2 for the Panchakarma, so a mini Panchakarma, and then just the regular at-home mini Panchakarma. The second track, which is a little bit longer, was the one that I initially did, and I remember just feeling so great and just being kind of blown away by the fact that I wasn't really depriving myself of anything. I wasn't doing anything crazy in the way of, cutting things out completely or, doing anything really crazy with, herbal pills or weird teas. It was just following a pretty, strict guideline of routines and diet for just a chunk of time. And it made such a significant difference in my life, and that's ultimately what cleaned my body out and kind of reset me, which is why I like to use the reset. Ayurveda is, I attribute my body being able to heal itself because of the practices that I was using for Ayurveda for even, it was just a 3-month period of time. And the Panchakarma, which is the cleanse part aside, I remember feeling just my absolute best when I was adhering to that sort of schedule and the dinacharya, or the daily routine and daily practices of self-care. And I realized that those 3 months that I really dedicated to the path of Ayurveda was all about just making time for me. And if anyone has gone through a pretty serious illness, you have to make that decision for yourself, realizing that, wow, what, I'm worth it. I have to figure this stuff out if I want to get better. And that's not a choice that all of us, I don't think anyone loves to make that choice and to make these hard changes. But I think that really is the only way to truly heal on a deep level. First is recognizing that something's out of whack and listening to it instead of ignoring it or pushing it to the side. And then deciding how you're going to become well. There's lots of different ways. There's lots of different sort of supports that we can use on the way to feeling better. But sometimes the feeling better is just a quick fix. It's just a band-aid. It's just something that we're doing to relieve the symptoms. Now, underneath the symptoms are always an underlying cause of what's going on within the imbalance or disease that we're dealing with. So Ayurveda assesses changing on a fundamental level. And although I will say that even though it was the best I felt my whole life, I don't adhere to it 100% all the time. I use it as a guide to come back to again and again because I know that it serves me so well. And I hope that, it will continue to serve me well, and I believe that it will. And I think my personality, and many, maybe you would sort of connect to this as well, is that there are so many hard, fast, black and white rules in life that's put upon us, that I like to be gentle with ourselves, and I don't want to, impose limitations on people and say it always has to be this way, or you always have to do this thing. But I want to educate people to give them the tools that make them feel better so that they can feel the difference in their bodies. And then if they fall off that wagon for a little bit, that's okay. They can come back to it at any point. And that's really what Ayurveda has been for me. Its principles, its guidelines have really helped me to better understand myself, mind, body, and spirit. Hi, Emma. Thanks for joining. And I can come back to it. I don't live a black and white, follow all the rules Ayurvedic lifestyle, although in my mind I would love to do that, but it's just not in me, and it doesn't serve me all of the time. So I use it, like I said, just to come back to, and knowing that it's always there waiting for me, and knowing that it just will always benefit me no matter what's going on in my life. So I talked about Kapha dosha already. I wanted to briefly discuss the other two doshas so that you can get a little bit better sense of maybe which doshas are most predominant within you. Of course, the best ways to do this, you can go online, look for Ayurvedic dosha quizzes. And then even if you go to see a practitioner, they usually listen to your pulses. So that's the best way to really feel out your exact dosha combination. And like I said, we all have the Vata, the Pitta, and the Kapha. So while Kapha dosha is the water and earth element, Vata is kind of the complete opposite in that way. It is the air and is the ether element. So it's literally like spacey, literally space actually, right? Well, space is ether. So it is the opposite of Kapha. So Kapha is heavy and dense and just solid and sturdy and kind of slow moving. Vata is like the going a mile a minute, super, doing 1,000 things at once. Their schedule is just like filled, their calendar is like booked every single day. They run around with their heads cut off. Often they run late. They forget to eat. They have 6 books on their nighttime table because they've started all 6 of them but haven't finished any of them yet. They love to learn. They love to absorb information. They're very creative. They talk with their hands. I have no Vata, right? They talk with their hands. They often talk fast. Physically, they tend to be a little bit irregular. So irregular in the sense that not every part of their physical form is, they're not identical, right? They don't match quite evenly. So someone who has like really long fingers, or their eyes are a little bit further apart, or maybe a little bit closer, or they're very tall and lanky, or they're just a little bit, there's just something a little bit off, and not in a bad way, because irregularity can actually be very beautiful, but they're not like perfectly symmetrical in all of their features. For instance, like a small mouth but with like really large teeth, just like little things that are just a little bit off, and they can be, like I said, very visually appealing. But that's very typical for Vata. So Vata is irregular. It's also dry. It's also cold. It's also constricted in energy. So you think of people with dry skin, dry scalp, chronically dehydrated, constipation on the end of like the sort of hard bunny pellets that are stools. So they have gas a lot of times. It also rules the nervous system. So they tend to be kind of just like, caffeine's actually the worst thing for Vata types because it makes them even more shaky and gives them more energy, right? But it depletes them because they don't have a lot of energy to begin with. They're running on empty most of the time. Vatas tend to lose weight really easily. And again, this is me generalizing. Not everyone is, well, some people are like almost 100% Vata, but it's, that's in the sort of, not the norm. But they tend to lose weight easily. Again, they tend to be, be knobby and bony and like have kind of like the bones that stick out, and even like sinewy muscles and tendons, and maybe you can even see their veins, like they're very see-through. These are all Vata qualities. They tend to have kind of frizzy or like just slightly wavy hair. So they're kind of, Vata in its imbalanced state is just kind of like literally a chicken running around with their head cut off. They tend to worry and have anxiety and insomnia. Any spasms that go on the body, that's ruled by Vata, because Vata has a very strong sort of connection to the nervous system, which is our entire body, which gets me to a very important piece of Vata, which is Vata rules the 2 doshas. So Vata is kind of like the queen of the doshas. So whenever there's something going on in your body, when you're assessing Vata dosha, you're going to help the other 2 doshas too, no matter what your constitution is. And you may have already been thinking about this when I was talking about Vata, but because Vata is fast-paced and chaotic and irregular and just like so energetic and just like moving around all the time, that's already kind of the world that we live in. We live in a very Vata energy world. So even between the anxiety-inducing news and social media that we watch, to our fast-paced lives of not slowing down and taking time for ourselves, to just like, you know, the busy schedules that we live, it's already Vata. Like, we're literally living in a crazy Vata environment. So even though we're not in Vata season right now, we're in Kapha season, we still exist in this sort of cesspool of Vata, and I should say imbalanced Vata in a lot of ways. So whenever we are unsure where to begin when it comes to Ayurveda, and when it comes to how can I balance myself out, always look to try to balance Vata. So what are some things that we can do for Vata dosha that's kind of exacerbated? Follow a schedule, follow a routine, and a routine that you can do every single day. So maybe even if it's waking up at the same time every single day. Yes, cesspool of Vata. It's true, Heather. Sorry, I'm reading your comments as they come up. That's how I feel anyways. That's how I experience it. But schedule and routine, so important for Vata, because Vata is like, it's like they're like a hurricane moving through, and just like everything's, going in disarray around them when they're out of balance. So anything that you can invite into your life to ground a little bit and to calm the chatterbox brain going on upstairs, even if it's as simple as waking up at the same time in the morning. And Vata times, so we talked about how Kapha and Pitta and Vata all have times of the season and times during the day. Vata, I'm going to get this wrong, hold on a second, is the 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. time frame, and also 3 to 7 p.m. as well. So it's the best time in the morning when we first rise to take that sort of clarity of mind and peace of mind to maybe do some breath work or do some yoga or do some meditation, because it's what sets the tone for the day. So if we can take that time span to wake up early, take even if it's just 5 minutes before getting ready for work, to just breathe, to maybe have a mantra or prayer or something, just to kind of take advantage of the quietude that we can find in our minds that time of day, and just set the scene for the day. Just kind of put your intentions out there and just find a little bit more peace and groundedness within the mind before you zoom into your day and have Vata, then take over from there. So finding routine is so, so, so huge for Vata. Hydration is another enormous one, not just for our physical bodies, but mental, emotional bodies as well. Water is everything, but I'm not even just talking about water. I'm also talking about oils. So I mentioned this in Kapha, and basically anyone struggling with any sort of imbalance, digestion is a huge component. No surprise there. Cook your foods. Cook your foods. If you have a poor digestive tract, if things are, bother you, if you just kind of have some allergies, or you just don't digest foods well, or you don't poop on a regular basis, you have gas, constipation, anything like that, start cooking your foods more. And it's not just with heat, it's with olive oil and vinegar. If you like eating lots of salads, especially since we're moving into the warmer season, hopefully. It's so cold today. But break them down. Break down your foods in a way, add the warming spices to help your body digest them, because Vata also rules the colon. So it really needs help in the digestive tract to bring that sort of state of balance. And again, think about the energy of Vata. It's cold, it's dry, it's restrictive. So we need warmth, we need moisture, we need to kind of rebuild that Vata energy physically to help us just receive and assimilate all the nutrients that we need to exist, right? So, and also just eat. So Vatas don't eat regularly. They forget to eat, or they're just constantly snacking on things. It's not good for them. Food is literally grounding to all of us, but especially Vata that needs to sit down and try not to, I'm telling you all these things because Vata they don't make time for themselves. They're very, very scatterbrained. So not only do you just make time to eat, but can you make time to sit down and eat, and not just eat on the run? I'm talking to myself too. ground. That's what Vata needs. Also for the dryness of the skin. So, the skin's so important. It's our immune system. It's our barrier to the world. We really want to nourish it and take care of it. So getting back to moisturizing or nourishing, hydrating, we come into the oils. Oh, and I didn't mention oils for the eating part, but please eat your oil. So add olive oil, avocado, oil, or actually avocados. If you eat fish, get the good fats in, nuts, seeds, like really eat large amounts of these things. We have this weird, anti-fat sort of idea in a lot of our culture. So we gotta get rid of that. Fats are so important. The healthy omegas we need. And also supplement. That's the one thing I supplement with is omega-3 because I'm vegetarian. I don't eat fish just because I don't like it. But there's actually many vegan options as well. Well, not many, but there's a couple of vegan options if you're someone who doesn't want to eat any animal product. But get your omegas in. And then Abhyanga, so the external massage. Again, a lot of these practices we're going to be doing through the Panchakarma cleanse, but it doesn't take much time, guys. It really, really doesn't. I swear it takes maybe 5 minutes to do before you hop in the shower just to oil yourself up from head to toe. It doesn't take a lot of time, and it's one of the best things that you can do for your skin, not even just for, calming your nervous system and increasing circulation and moving the lymphatic system, but it also calms the nervousness of Vata and that kind of scatterbrainness. It's grounding you through your own touch, through your own loving self-touch, which is really such an important gift to offer yourself. And it's wonderfully moisturizing. I very rarely have to moisturize after I do that, even though I'm, not washing it off, but I'm rinsing it off in the shower. That's the thing, you don't use soap. So Vata especially, they have dry skin, dry hair. Don't use a lot of soap. I use soap on the special parts, the parts that need a little extra cleaning, right? The nether regions, the armpits, etc. But otherwise, minimize the soap. Shampoo, go every other day if you need to shampoo every day or whatever it might be. But lessen, if you're feeling connected to this Vata that we're talking about, lessen the need for soap and cleaning because you're just robbing yourself of those natural oils. The flavors that are naturally balancing for Vata are sweet, sour, and salty. And I'm not talking about the additives, adding salt or adding sugar to anything. I'm talking about the naturally sweet, sour, and salty things. So of course, citrus is a good one for the sour one. I'm trying to think. There must be other sour foods. Oh, sauerkraut, fermented foods, kombucha. Those are all wonderful things for Vata. Naturally sweet. So think of sweet potatoes and corn and even rice and beans. They have a sweetness to them. Salty, we've got seaweeds, we've got celery. Typically things like olives, those have added salt. But there are lots of things in our food, in our diet, that have those naturally occurring flavors, and those indicate the mineral content and the actual proteins that exist in them for a reason that help to balance out Vata. So honing in on those. I do incorporate a little bit of warming spices for Vata, not too much because too much heat creates gas and dry out in the body, which is not what we want for Vata because they're already dry, but a little bit of warmth helps to warm up the coolness that Vata feels pretty regularly. The other thing about Vata is that you don't want to overdo the exercise and the movement, especially because they don't sweat a lot, because they don't have a lot of moisture, and because they're typically running on empty. So, power yoga and vinyasa flow yoga, or running a marathon, or, 3 hours at the gym, lifting weights and sweating on the treadmill isn't the best fit for them. And that's not to say that they can't work out in the same way that other people, just for a shorter period of time, and maybe with a little bit less gusto. They just don't have a lot of reserve. So looking to just kind of more of the gentle ways to move, even just belly dancing or going for a walk, or maybe just skipping if you love running. I know a lot of Vatas actually are very attracted to the high intensity activity because they just love it, right? They love movement, so they want to do that. But then they crash, right? They pass out after they work out. That's not what we want. So if you're someone who loves to run, maybe you do the run for a bit, walk for a bit, run for a bit, just kind of finding the middle of the road and just listening to yourself, trying not to push through and be I can do it. Just give yourself a break once in a while and try to incorporate some of the more nourishing movements into your life that are a little bit gentler, because of course movement and exercise are very important. We all need to do it, but we don't always have to be super duper intense, especially if you are high Vata. So kind of listening to that piece. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in, all of you that have. I just wanted to paint a little bit of a picture for Vata. The Panchakarma, again, I'm offering a track 1 and a track 2, so let me briefly go over those differences with you. The track 1 is just a 10-day. Batman's here. Emma just told me her cat is purring away during our Ayurvedic talk, so thanks, Batman. Love ya. Track 1, Panchakarma, is a shortened one, so it's 10 days, and it is all about kind of combining the piece of elimination, so kind of slowly veering ourselves off the foods and the drinks, etc., that aren't serving us, and moving into eating a mono diet, which is an Ayurvedic food stuff that is basically rice, beans, and spices for 3 days. We also incorporate ghee and triphala, which is a tea to help us cleanse at night, the abhyanga, the neti pot, meditation, a little bit of yoga, rising at a certain time, going to bed at a certain time, having a screen time shut down every night. So we're really incorporating the mind, body, and spirit aspects to these options. So phase 1 is just 10 days, and it's just a little bit shortened version. Oh, you're welcome, Heather. Thank you for tuning in. And the second track, if you will, is the longer one. So this one is going to be going on for 16 days, right? So the first week is going to be the slow elimination. So weaning ourselves off booze and sugar and alcohol and caffeine, all the way down to a vegetarian Vata-focused diet. Because again, Vata is going to serve everyone if we focus on trying to balance the Vata versus trying to, customize every Vata, Pitta, Kapha combination that we've got. I'm going to just hone in on the Vata. So that's the first week. And the second week will be the full-on Panchakarma, and this is going to be specific with internal oleation, which is the internal oiling of the body with ghee, which helps us to detoxify. I'm going to break this down for you guys even more, but I'm just giving you a little gist so you can kind of wrap your brain around it. External oleation, so again, the abhyanga, the massage, we'll be doing the triphala, we'll be doing the mono diet for 4 days, so khichdi for 4 days instead of 3 on the shorter version, and then we'll also be doing, again, everything is optional within these, but this is the kind of the full-on, the one that I first initially did, so it's a little bit heavy hitting, but we'll be doing an at-home basti or enema the last 3 days of the cleanse, which helps us make sure everything has moved out. And it's a lot gentler than you might think, so I'm always here for conversation around that as the time comes. But I'll be giving you guys more details around the 2 specific tracks of the Panchakarma, and I hope you'll join me. It'll be free participation, and it'll just be donation based. If you feel like throwing me a couple bucks for offering you the information, that's how it's going to be running, but anyone can join. And it's perfect time of year to do it because it's the springtime and we're ready to spring clean mind, body, and spirit. So I'll tune in with you guys on Monday with another live Q&A session. But if you have anything that you have for me now, or those of you who are tuning in later, please feel free to comment here and I'll answer your questions as they come. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya.